if we move to climate change, so the PowerPoint is in French, but I will explain the figures in English, of course. My presentation is based on the IPCC scenario. I strongly believe on IPCC work, and as long as the audit, which is now ongoing under the International Academy of Science, has not produced this report, I will make use of the scenario with some being careful, but still it's a fantastic work which I respect very much. So these are the scenarios of temperature and precipitation, I mean pluviometry, during the present century. And as you can see, where it is, the more it is red and brown, and the more the temperature will increase by 1.5 to 4% by the end of the year, by the end of the century. And as a consequence, and the phenomena will be more intensive in summer than in winter. And here we have also some consequences in terms of water stress. So water stress will be especially intensive in the south of the Mediterranean and the east, and also the precipitation would increase in the north of Europe, Scandinavia, and North Germany, and would decrease in the south of Europe and the southern part of the Mediterranean. Here we have an idea of the expect trend for the main rivers going to the Mediterranean: the Rhone, the Po, which is in green, the Ebre, which is in blue, and the Nile, which is here. So it is expected that we will lose 20 to 30% of the annual flow of these big rivers. Also, the climatic change would affect the marine environment, and especially the heating of the deeper seas by 1%, with a lot of consequences. The biodiversity would be affected. It is already affected by some changes, especially in terms of migratory species. And we can expect some consequences for agriculture and tourism, even tourism, which is a very important activity in the region, with 1/3 of international tourism in the Mediterranean. As you can see, the more it is red, the more the tourism will be affected, especially in Spain, as you can see, Greece and Turkey. Okay, so now what is the position of Mediterranean countries in relation with climate change? As you know, countries are facing both at the same time mitigation and adaptation obligations. So mitigation means to reduce emissions or to control emissions. Adaptation means that they are, in any case, to adapt to global warming. In 2005, the Mediterranean countries produced 7.6% of global emissions of CO2, with an increase of 34% since 1990 in the southern and eastern part of the Mediterranean. So we are not really on good track. Of course, these countries are not in the annex, covered by the Annex 1 of the Kyoto Protocol, but still, they are not in a comfortable position vis-à-vis the UNFCCC. But even Mediterranean European countries are not in good position. For instance, Spain increased its emission by 52% between 1990 to 2005, and Greece increased by 30%. Italy also increased its emissions. So these three countries are not on good tracks compared to the requirements of the Kyoto Protocol. Turkey increased its emission by 100% since 1990. So our Mediterranean countries, of course, those countries which were not covered by the Kyoto Protocol, by the Annex 1, are not in a conflicting situation, but still it's a matter of concern to see that all our Mediterranean countries are not seriously taking in consideration the issue of saving energy or reducing emissions. So now they will have to face this situation, whatever happened in Cancun, and they will have to address this serious issue. A last figure, the Mediterranean countries increased their electricity consumption by 400% since 1991. And a very final and very concerning issue, the Mediterranean countries from the eastern and southern rim are strongly dependent on fossil energy. They use 94% of fossil energy for their global consumption of energy. So they are completely dependent on fossil energy. I'm speaking here of the southern and eastern part of the Mediterranean. So when considering their energy policy, of course, they will have to take into consideration the environment dimension. This environment dimension is composed with a global, such as the climate change, but also local issues, which are of major importance, which are sometimes forgotten this last year because the importance of climate change on the global agenda. But still, this is a big issue. So let me recall what are the main environmental issues related to energy production and use. So we have the CO2 emissions, of course, but also the local air pollutants, such as CO, SOx, NOx, ozone, which are very important, especially in the mixture of urban air pollution. Biodiversity is affected by hydroelectricity, especially aquatic biodiversity. The marine environment can be affected by the development of marine energy production, and also landscape can be a problem because especially through the windmills, and we have a lot, for instance, of conflicts and discussion in France because of conflicting interests between protection of landscape, rural landscape, which is very famous in France, and the development of windmills. So there are a lot of environmental issues, and when you cross with the sources of energy, these are the main patterns. So coal burning, which is of major importance, for instance, in Greece and Turkey for the production of electricity. So it produces CO2, CO, monoxide of carbon, NOx, SOx, which even with some advanced technology. Oil produces more or less the same pollutants at a lower level. Gas produces CO2 and might produce SOx and NOx, but that has a very lower production. Now let's come to nuclear energy. So nuclear energy don't produce all these air pollutants, that's a fact. But it produces dangerous waste, which are a big issue for the future of it's a safety issue, as we can see everywhere